Marfoogle News live in 3, 2. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. Again, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff here today, but again, real quick, we can get right into it. JD Vance said that the India-Pakistan conflict was, quote, none of our business until receiving alarming intelligence. Again, this alarming intelligence, we still don't know what that is, but we do know the response from this. Of course, if you haven't heard, they did do a temporary ceasefire. Again, they got this alarming intelligence. All of a sudden, the U.S. needs to be involved. Marco Rubio and others essentially talked to India, and now they've done some sort of ceasefire. So again, this is a huge deal because of what is actually going on. Now, again, India ended up pausing their military activity. They said that they're only pausing, and it because it will retaliate on its own terms if there are any future T attack on the countries. So if there's any other attacks like Kashmir that happen. If you're unaware of Kashmir, essentially what was claimed is that Pakistan essentially paid a terror group to attack India. Now, this is a massive deal because it immediately started this back and forth, tit for tat. Immediately, India ended up responding with a massive explosion. Looked like a Moab or a Foab. I mean, people thought it was a tactical nuke in Pakistan. And then Pakistan, of course, responded. They did dog fights, apparently. They, of course, have been going back and forth. Well, all of a sudden it paused. And this is after J.D. Vance got involved. This is very, very, very obvious to me that something bigger is going on here. But more so, again, there's some things here that's like, what the hell's going on? And these are things that we called from day one. But before we go over that, I do want to remind you guys, make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com, especially with all of the different countries that are vying for power right now. All of our adversaries have the ability to EMP us, and it's one of the strongest weapons against the United States. So if you do want to go and protect yourself, protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, and anything else that runs, including your solar and gas generators, and even your home or ham radio, then go over and check out marfooglenews.com/EMP. You can get an EMP shield. Again, this will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device. This isn't just any regular surge protector. This is a military-grade EMP shield. Again, this is the same company that is actually helping agencies like DHS and DOD. So again, go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. It also protects you against a Carrington-level event from the sun. So if you do have that happen, you will also be protected. marfooglenews.com/EMP. Again, code MARF will save you money and save independent media. All right. Let's bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
Okay, so first of all, I thought it was very odd that this whole attack happened right after the U.S. visited, and I'm not saying that I believe either which way, but of course I said, man, it's really weird that the U.S. visits and then all of a sudden this attack happens. J.D. Vance was actually in the country of India talking with India essentially about, hey, you guys should do more manufacturing, China should do less. All of a sudden this attack happens. I mean, it's super, super obvious what it looks like, at least, right? So, I mean, people like me, and I'm sure a lot of people were going, wow, China did that because India is threatening their manufacturing. No, again, that's not what they said. But again, this is something that all of us thought. Well, all of a sudden, they get alarming intelligence. They tell it to India, and then they pause fighting and even make the comment. It says, if there is any, future conflicts, then we will do something else, right? Well, it basically sounds like almost like the U.S. went over to them and said, hey, India, we just got alarming intelligence. Pakistan didn't do that. Somebody else did. So if you feel nice and calm because of this, think again, because this is actually creepy. This could mean something entirely different. It could be an escalation of a country we weren't even thinking about. Dex, what do you think about the alarming intelligence that's coming out?
Well, I think the idea that Pakistan was, potentially willing to escalate at a much larger level, maybe even with nukes, was part of the concern. I think that's why, because before JD Vance was saying, hey, it's not our business. Like, let them do what they're going to do. We hope they find peace quickly. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, completely changed stance and said, okay, now me and Marco Rubio are over here, not over there, but, getting on the horn, so to speak, trying to get them to agree to a ceasefire, which I guess they did. But I don't have a lot of faith in that, because they even had early reports that said they might have already broken it in some regards. And I think, as you look at the words from India, it's like if they see any action or any activity from them, they're going to retaliate on its own terms.
One of the quotes was, terror and talks can't go together, nor terror and trade. So I thought that that was kind of interesting too, that they put nor terror and trade. So are we going to see something come out too? Like just a slight prediction. What if India ends up making a comment later, separate it from it so the public, thinks it's something different, but says, hey, China, we don't want to do trade. I'm sorry, not China. The U.S., we don't want to do stuff with you, or that we want to reduce the amount, or we want to change our deal. Something like that happens. What if somebody finds out that three-letter agencies are behind this, and that there's shadowy figures, pulling the puppet strings on all of this? From day one, I thought that the event itself, the one in Kashmir at least, I thought that was really weird. Now, I'm not saying I totally believe Pakistan. In fact, I'm just saying my judgment of the gentleman who spoke on Sky News, the defense minister, honestly looked like he didn't know what was going on. And the Sky News, which, again, a lot of people like Sky on all of the medias. Of course, everybody has their favorite right now because everybody thinks, oh, that one's bad, but this one's good. Almost all of them are corrupted in some sort of way because they take money from sponsors. And if they take money from sponsors, they're not going to talk trash about the sponsors, right? So again, with that, the lady kept interrupting this Ministry of Defense guy and basically she just kept inserting like, no, the official story is, what do you think about that? And, oh, you say you didn't know anything about it? Well, what about when you knew everything about it? I mean, it just didn't seem organic. It seemed like the reporter was told, like, just push him. And if he starts saying, like, I don't know what the hell's going on, you just keep pushing and go, but you do. I mean, it didn't seem right. And anybody who has intuition or some discernment can see that. It didn't seem right. So what would be the alternative? A third party, possibly China even. India has the Make in India program that they are basically trying to take all of the manufacturing business from China and put it in India. Now, physically and logistically, that's almost impossible right now. But they are actually talking, the world is actually talking about doing it, right? And not only talking about it, you have Apple's being moved there. You have huge companies saying, hey, we want to go there instead, or we want to manufacture there because they don't want to deal with it. Hasbro and Mattel, two of the biggest toy companies. And again, any collector will probably know this by now. There's a huge deal going on with Hasbro and Mattel. Major companies are saying that 70% of their production will be moved to India or somewhere else outside of China by next year. Like, that's crazy. That means they got a memo. That means they got, some sort of letter that we haven't that tells them that. Because otherwise they would just put a temporary surcharge because of the tariffs. They don't move manufacturing like that for no reason. And they don't move it permanently unless they think that this is going to go on for quite a long time. So again, big deal. Dex, let's talk about the airlines preparing for a nuclear war and why this is odd and even outdated.
Well, yeah, certainly. So they're saying now that the airlines are preparing for a nuclear war, and they're doing it because they have to update their policies. Their policies date back to 1950s when, it would basically, a single nuke going off would force the grounding of all civil aircraft across the world. And I guess now the landscape is much different, especially when you've got, conflicts between India and Pakistan or Russia and Ukraine, where you might actually have, a single nuke that's not necessarily the start of, global decimation, but instead just be a tactical or a battlefield type event where you might see one or two. And in that case, it may change how aviation would respond. So many different reasons they're looking at this. Obviously, the change in the armaments and the potential uses of them, but also the fact that they haven't really done any planning for nuclear strikes and what does it mean to air traffic? Because there's a lot of aircraft that'll be in the air at any given time.
And it's funny, they have an infographic here with the top 6 of the nuclear weapons in the world. You've got Russia with 5,580, U.S. with 5,044, China with 500. I didn't realize that China was number 3 with only 500. France 290, UK, and I say only, 500 is enough to cause massive global issues. India being last at 172, and we just covered a story the other day that essentially Pakistan's right after them with, I believe, 160 or 162. I think they had 10 less. But again, basically the almost the same amount. So you've got the possibility, and it's almost like we're being set up narrative-wise for a tactical nuke to go off, and they go, hey, we keep flying. Like, you don't shut down the whole world because something goes on in one location in one city in the world. But that's what will happen. And I actually don't think it's that unrealistic to keep that kind of plan. Because if you think about it, a tactical nuke goes off, they do a ground stop. They did a ground stop, a full ground stop for the entire world for 2001. When that event happened, every plane hit the ground. It is a massive deal monetarily for the world. When you have, how many planes in the sky? I mean, millions. It's a highway in the sky. We don't realize this, but there are, I think, hundreds of millions. I thought it was like 1 billion people are flying around the world at any given time. Or not 1 billion. It's probably 100 million or something like that. It's a crazy, absurd number. I remember when I heard it, I was like, whoa. But again, for those to all ground because of a single location, some people even agree with that. They say, well, maybe you should be more safe than sorry. But again, the plan is from the 1950s. It's kind of stupid. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, and it's also based on insurance, too. The insurance requires them to ground immediately, and they're trying to get a special insurance policies now that are being drawn up to give them the ability to continue flying should, a conflict arise that's, just regional, so they don't have to ground all the planes.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that, when you take a look at it, you're going like, how is this system still the same as it is today as it was when, we didn't have any of the technology we have today. So you would think that there would be a change in policy, but as we're finding out, most of the policies that really matter are most likely archaic and stored in a cave. So again, we're going to talk about this and much, much more on our next show. Even more important, again, there are troops amassing at the border. Now, I would put your antennas up. There's a lot of propaganda going out there right now. But one thing I will say for sure, if you add this with everything else that's going on, if you see the narratives that's being painted, especially by NATO and the rest of the world, there is something massive going on. Again, they're saying that troops are amassing at the border. We will talk about that here in just a minute over on Marfoogle TV. Join us for a full, in-depth breakdown of the last 48 to 72 hours. We'll be right back again over on there. So make sure to stay in the chat. You'll get ported over. Or if you're watching the replay, if you want to join us, then all you have to do is click here. We'll see you in just a moment. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out.